One of the things that the president said is before now, the media, or before, the media used to be the voice of the ordinary people. It does mean, or if you're going to analyze that statement, it does mean that possibly now, because it does go on to say that, it says, but now the media is the voice of those who own media houses. Would you say that the media has ceased to be the voice of the people? And if you agree with the president, when did this begin to happen?
Very good. Now, that is a perspective that the president has, that he has the right really to express, that now maybe the media is no longer the voice of the people. Now, what he says is also subject, to the analysis as well as people's commentaries on that matter. Is it true that the Nigerian media specifically has not been championing the cause of the masses of these people? Is it true that owners of media organizations, especially, I'm sure maybe he is referring to the private ownership of the media, is it true that they have certain agenda which is anti-people, which is anti-government, and that the media they so own are pursuing those agendas? I think this is better left for the Nigerian masses actually to interpret and appreciate. Now, the same accusation can also be made against maybe government-controlled media. There are some people who can say, well, but the governmental-owned media is just a sycophantic, institution, or probably it is just a lapdog of government, not only in Nigeria but elsewhere. But my own take as an observer now, and probably someone who has had some little experience in government and who has been a professional of 31 years standing, my understanding is that these conflicts, these accusations, these altercations will continue, not only in Nigeria, in everywhere else. This conflict in the role of the media and government is intractable. The only way to go about it is to manage it. And I believe that the way to go about it is not by continuing to throw stones, at each other, but to devolve ways of finding solutions through free flows of information. The president will go down in history as having signed the FIO bill. Now, if the president is the one that has signed, the act, the next logical step is to go about operationalizing it in a most transparent manner, so that once there is free flow of information, in my own opinion, the extent to which these altercations will continue will also be minimized.
Okay.
Now, government also needs to come up with clean hands. If it has anything against the media, for instance, there is nothing wrong in media owners owning private planes. After all, how many politicians own private planes? The other day I was at the Abuja airport and I took a brief count. I saw no less than about 50 private jets that are at the old Abuja airport.
50.
How many of them are owned by media owners? I'm not sure if there are more than 2 or 1, publisher or maybe a media owner that owns a private jet. And private jets can be owned by businessmen. They can be owned just like cars. They can be owned by anybody. And at any rate, once such jets are owned by entrepreneurs through legal means, if they didn't acquire them through corrupt practices, I don't think it's a big deal.
Let's bring in this perspective to it, if you will.
These ones.
Let's bring in this perspective. Doesn't this, or isn't this statement either directly or tantamount to saying there's major failure in regulation? Because if he says that it's no longer the voice of the people but the voice of the owners, what does this, from your perspective, say about regulation, the regulatory bodies in the country?
Very good. Now, probably instead of coming in direct confrontation or originating such attacks against the media. I believe that one way also of managing these situations is by the full operationalizing of regulatory bodies in the media industry. Take the Nigerian Broadcasting Commission, for instance, which very recently, celebrated its founding. Now, take it or leave it, the MBC has to a large extent intervened in managing this, in regulating the media industry, especially the broadcast industry, in a professional manner, in the sense that it has intervened to regulate and shape the broadcast industry in Nigeria to avoid maybe inflammatory commentaries and so on. Now, as for the press, that is where we continue to have a problem, because the Nigerian Nigerian Press Council has more or less been comatose, since its founding. I played a role in bringing the Nigerian Press Council in 1992 when we had the opportunity to inaugurate, the first council. And I'm not happy as of today that the Nigerian Press Council has not been active in regulating, in taking complaints and enforcing, compliance with its mandates. Now I can tell you that the next step that government needs to take very urgently is to bring all the actors within the media industry, especially the print arm of the industry, to come to terms with the reality that except if the regulatory body that is charged with mediating in disputes against the media, especially complaints against the media, start to work, then there is no way journalism can also be fully appreciated as a profession. So I want to agree with you that there is a need actually for all the stakeholders in the industry, especially in the print arm, to come to terms with this reality, and the sooner they agree to operate this regulatory mechanism in a robust manner to basically allow complaints to be taken by neutral people and for the media itself, just like in Great Britain and other countries, to agree to apologize, for instance, where they are found to be wanting, or to redress, stories, or to self-correct themselves. This is, we cannot, continue to brag about our sense of professionalism and responsibility to the public.